brown.
I thought you got it, that's why you came over.
Now they're popular.
Another coffee. Looks like climbing over a log or something.
What'd you call that?
Silver vine? Or silver lace vine, maybe? They sell it at Shillings. Where we get ours from? Shillings. Out on Old Bed Redmond Highway. Shillings Silver Nursery. Great little place. I'm sure other places have it too. Hi! How you guys doing? Welcome back, some of you. Welcome to others of you. I brought all the stuff back that I have from last term. I've stuck it over here between Di and Alan, so if you want to grab that, by all means grab it. If you have questions, we take our 5, we can answer them. I quickly answered Linda's question about the chicken problem from the exam. I can answer other questions if you guys have them. So they're sitting up here. If you had to last term, the first part of class today is just going through the syllabus, which is insanely boring for you that had me last term because nothing's changed except for the fact that you're now sitting at 244 instead of 243. So if you want, actually, you know what? If you guys want to root through that stuff, can you grab that and track it outside, Di? And you just, well, chuck it, track it, sorry, just take it outside. And if you guys want to root through it and grab your papers, by all means, that way we keep it out. I mean, if you haven't had me before, I want to go through the syllabus and make sure you understand it. If you had me before, like I said, bore the hell out of you. You can take a nap for 20, 30 minutes or so, we go through it, that's totally fine too. Or you can head outside and root through the file and find your stuff if you want. If you don't ever want it again, I'll just burn it. That's totally fine too. My son loves burning stuff in the backyard. So we can take care of that too. But I want to give you the option to get it back, especially the last exams, which you gave to me a couple weeks ago and I took away, and then I haven't seen you since. So welcome back, if I had you. If I didn't, welcome to the second part of the world of statistics, which is wonderful, wonderful. This is the inferential part, whereas last term was more descriptive. How many of you guys took, I know you guys that I had last term took 243. How many of you had 243 just last term if you didn't have me? I know you guys. If you didn't have me, so most of you did. All right. Has anybody been a couple terms since?
2 years.
A couple years? That's totally fine, yeah. That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter at all. I'm just curious. How many of you did the 105, 243, 244 trifecta as far as just you guys? Just you guys. Okay. I'm trying to track that too. I'll send you guys surveys like I did last term throughout the term to collect more data, especially like class meeting times and things like that. I want to know the best way for students to learn, and the easy way to track that down is just ask you. So I'll ask you as we go.
Hey, Sean,
Yeah.
have they thought about doing that trifecta during summer term where you go Monday through Thursday and you go 4 days a week, and so 3 weeks is 105, 3 weeks is 243?
I would never let them do that.
Oh, really?
There was no way in hell I would let them do
I've
that.
taken some classes.
Oh, I know, and I think it's the worst possible idea educationally. It gets the job done,
Yeah.
but it depends on how you define the job.
Right.
I mean, it all depends. That's a great question. Frankie asked, and I think like accounting is one of those classes you can take the accounting sequence, 211, 212, 213,
Yeah.
in 10 weeks in the summer, and you get, what is that, 12 credits in
Yeah, I
10
go
weeks.
4 days a week.
4 days a week, right. I think it's an awful idea personally, but my advisees that I've talked to that have taken that sequence hate it.
Yeah.
They say they get through it. I have personal experience. I took differential equations in college in what's called winterim, which we run semesters at Delaware, and I took a 16-week course in 4.
Yeah.
And it was awful. I remember nothing. It was the only time in my life I had to sleep 11 hours a night. I never had to sleep more than 8 hours a night, except for that 4 weeks. My brain was so tired from trying to process so much. It's a neat idea, and it's appealing for those who want to like get stuff done.
Yeah.
But the problem is there's never any time for saturation of ideas. Because you're so busy glancing through things, like, today's p-value's done! Tomorrow's confidence interval's done! And there's never any time for that, like, saturation. It's interesting, as I read through your guys' eval comments last term, the one that pops up, not much, but one that pops up, is thank God you post videos for the website, or on the website, because I can go back and watch stuff. But the other thing is, too, it goes too fast. And I can't control that, only by not letting that ever happen.
Right.
Because that would just make it go faster.
Right.
So it's an appealing idea for that one reason. Unfortunately, it falls.
And if someone just needs to get the sequence done, get
Yeah, but
graduate or
done
something.
as an educator,
Yeah.
done does not imply learned.
Learn.
And that's what scares me about it. I love the idea. It's appealing on some levels, but it's also terrifying of it. So as an educator, it just drives me nuts. Although it does get the job done if the job is just getting to the course. But I will continue to try to streamline the courses and make them more doable, approachable, learnable, editable, not really a word. So speaking of which, I mentioned to Frankie, I do videotape the courses. Those of you who haven't before know this. Thank you for your input on that last term too. I wasn't able to get a question about that on the COCC evals, but the ones you guys did in class that last day were great. I wasn't expecting that many. Keep it going. It was interesting. The data I collected, almost every single person said, you should keep the videos going, don't stop them. On the next page though, when I asked how often they're used, it was almost evenly split from all the time to once the entire term. So some people, I'd say 25% of people said I use them every day or every other day. 25% of people said I use them like once every 2 weeks. 25% of people said I use them once or twice during the term. And 25% of people said I maybe use them once, if at all. But everybody said, right. And it was interesting. I wasn't expecting that dichotomy, but it really wasn't dichotomy. It means that no matter how much you use them, you're glad when they're there. So I learned, that was interesting. I wasn't expecting that, but that's what I learned from those questions. So thank you for that input. I appreciate input like that. It makes me, again, it allows me to go to my department chair and say, dude, I need more funding so I can hire a camera person to run this. Keep that in mind if you guys are here next year. I got some funding for a camera person yes, so we can stop. One of the comments on the surveys was, get a camera person so the camera's not pointing at a screen you're not in front of all the time. Sorry. It's like right now, exactly. You hear my voice, but you can't. Disembodied spirit. So anyway, welcome to 244. Hi. If you haven't had me before, everything's posted online, whether it's projects, exams, quizzes, everything. The website we're going to go through today is cocc.edu/srule, which is just a directory page. Office hours are on here. Everything's on here. We're going to spend about probably like till 9:15 doing this, and then I've got a little activity to kind of remember some stuff from 243. It's been 2 weeks. You've probably forgotten all of it. That's totally fine. I expect that. And also to kind of set the stage for where we are in 244, which is a shift of gears a little bit. Ooh, hello. So anyway, this is the syllabus page. Austin, can you kill one of those lights? Give me my light man again. Turn. How about switch the other one, maybe? Is that okay? Is that better? A little bit better. All right. Thanks for braving the weather and coming out for the first day. Appreciate it. Which reminds me, I'm sure I check you guys in later. So anyway, when you get here, here's all my contact information. I'm in Grandview up the hill. Office hours are at the bottom. Apologies again for not having any on Tuesday and Thursday. This happened last term too. Negotiations meetings are ramping up, and now we have meetings every Tuesday and Thursday. So other than class, I go from here to noon, then meetings from noon to 5. So apologies. I had to put all my office hours on Monday and Wednesday, which sucks. Well, it doesn't suck. It's not optimal for you guys that have class on Tuesday and Thursday. But most of you last term utilized email to communicate, which was fantastic. I mean, very few people actually came by the office. It's great when you do. It's great when you can. And hopefully some of those times can work for you if you need to. It's just that it's inconvenient for you guys not to have them on the days you have class. So I apologize. I apologize for that. Regardless, here we are over here. 244, here's our time, here's our room, here's our CRN if you need it. I'm going to fix this. These course information somehow when I re-uploaded the new schedule got all smushed together. So we're going to explore this link today. So that's the only one if you haven't had me before. Oh, Linda, go ahead.
In Blackboard, or not Blackboard, Bobcat, I thought the class said it's from 8 to 10. Is it 8:15 or is it?
It's 8:15. There's a difference, and I don't know why this is. When finals exams, they have to be 2 hours long for some silly reason. So when you look at the exam schedule, it's 8 to 10. And then the next exam will be 10:15 to 12:15. But the classes itself, and this is some Oregon legislative thing. A 2-hour class is an hour and 45 minutes. Like one hour of class time in class is not an hour of clock time. It's a little bit less. I don't know why. The legislature keeps talking about these things. Like they're going to, the most recent idea just came out. This is based on no data whatsoever, FYI. They think we're losing too much seat time, you guys sitting in front of me, for things like Martin Luther King Day and Memorial Day and Thanksgiving, Veterans Day. There's 5, I get the 5th one. I guess there's 2 holidays, there's 2 days for Thanksgiving. So they're going to add all that cumulative time up, divided by how many class days you guys have left, and then add that number of minutes onto, like today's class wouldn't go 8:15 to 10, it would go 8:15 to 10:10. And then your next class would start at 10:15 and go 10:15 to 12:10. This is not this term. Probably not gonna happen next academic year, but this is one of the things that the legislators are trying to push through. Somehow thinking that adding 10 minutes onto a class is going to have a meaningful impact on education, which I think is a ridiculous idea, because all it does is make you guys run faster to get from place to place on campus in this freaking weather. So just FYI, that's going to look like it's one more clock hour versus learning time things. That's back of your head. So anyway, today let's explore this course information link, which is the one you're going to be spending most of your time in. This is Intro to ProbStat, part the second. So wherever you've left off with 243, I tried to make 243 accessible so that students who were done at 243 could take something away from it. But those of you that were coming on 244 also had a nice chunk of prior knowledge bringing it in. So here it is. The yellow box is where you're going to spend most of your time. Like I said, if you guys have your term, this is going to be boring as hell because you've already seen all this. Take a nap for a while and come back to it. The schedule page, I want to make sure you understand what the schedule page is. This is where all your stuff is linked from. Your quizzes, your projects, your exams, the class videos. What else is in there? PowerPoints if we have them. That's about it. So we'll hit on that. I apologize for the yellowness and the redness of it and the 1990ness of it. Hey, hush. It's okay. Tons of Burger King colors just to try to get your attention up. So anyway, week 1 through exam week is all listed here. So here's week 1. I did just get a note from Barbara Klett today. I think I may have told you guys this last term. You guys, as students at COCC, if you're COCC students, can download Office 2013 for free as long as you're a student at COCC. I just got that note from IT. As long as you're a student, you have to do some kind of a login to make sure that they check that you're a student.
You just have to log into your email once every 30 days.
That's it. Every 30 days, log into your email, they check off that you're a student, and you can have the program on your computer for free, as long as you're, I guess it dual enroll counts too, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess as long as you've got a foot in the door of COCC. I gave you a link up there, the check it out link in the red area explains to you how to do that. I also put the library tutoring schedule up there. There is a stat tutoring section and a mathematics tutoring section. I would shoot for the stat tutors if you're going to use the tutors, because some of the math tutors get pissed if you ask them stat questions. It's kind of like asking, I guess, a Portuguese speaker Spanish question. It's kind of the same, but not exactly the same. It's different enough to frustrate people. So I gave you the tutoring schedule listed up there, and also you've got the Office 2013 download. I do make you guys use Excel a little bit in this class like I did in 243. Not a ton, but a little bit. 2013 behaves just like 2007, which is what all my Excel stuff is written in. So, has anybody downloaded the 2013 already? You have already have, right? So over 105, we talked about it at 105, that's right. But I actually have some documentation for you now, which is great.
It's actually pretty neat.
It's good. It's good. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. So anyway, we're over there in the far column, Math 244. That's all you have to pay attention to. The first day up there is what we're going to be looking at today. Basically, it's going through the syllabus, and then I've got, like I said, a little activity that's going to hopefully bridge the gap between 243 and 244. When you look down through the schedule page, and you guys that had you at 243, chime in with anything that you found important on these pages as we go through them. If you haven't had it before, this is all new, like I said. But if you haven't before, just chime in like, oh, make sure you pay attention to blah or blah. But all your due dates are here. You're going to see a quiz due date mostly every Thursday. Every once in a while they move to Tuesday, depending on scheduling. Here is a day I have to be gone. I'll explain more about that as it gets closer. Quiz due. There's an exam due down here in week 5. We'll talk about exams and projects and quizzes. You'll notice that some of these days are blank right now. Like you go to week 2, this is next Tuesday, blank. Tuesday after that is blank. Tuesday after that, what the hell, why are they blank? Blank days. Stay home, blank days. What is a blank day all about?
Just haven't put in the content yet.
Well, why not? Why don't I just fill the thing up with content and say, here's what we're going to do, blah, 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 blah. Nick, why?
We don't know how far we're going to get.
That's the problem. Depending on what you guys ask, how you guys kind of steer the class. I'm not exactly sure when we're going to be at any given topic. Just like in 243. Some things took shorter than I thought, some things took longer than I thought. I never, okay, is there a desk somewhere? There's one back there if you want to grab a seat. Yeah, by all means. We're full, holy crap. Are there any more desks? the content, you might be wondering, okay, well, so you don't fill the schedule page. So where's the content? So one thing, I did change the title of what this page was called. This was, back in the day, i.e. last term, these were all called homework sheets, homework sheets, homework sheets. And I realized that I don't use them as homework sheets anymore. They really are just extra resources. They're not homework in the sense that that's not what you're turning in to submit for points. That's what the quizzes and the projects and the exams are. So what I call these now, I left the homework in there in case you like the more traditional labeling of things, is extra practice. So if you click on this, there's your topic list for Math 244. Boom! That's it. That's just like in Math 243. I've limited it down to about 10 or so topics. So that's what we're going to start with on Tuesday. Thursday, we'll start in with that idea of estimating a population proportion. That's the first topic. The formal term is called creating a confidence interval around a proportion. We started hinting at that at the end of 243, but now we're actually going to get into it and actually collect some data and start building these things. Then we'll get into estimating a population average. Then we'll get into hypothesis testing, which is pretty much the rest of the course from that point on. It's just how to deal with different kinds and different amounts of data. So I can't tell you, like in week 7 on Thursday, where we're going to be in this list. I know we're going to start at the front, and we're going to get down as far as we can. I've never finished this entire list. In 243, I can almost guarantee we get through those 9 topics. I've never finished this entire list. We usually end up sacrificing that last bit, the independence testing, which I love doing, but I don't want to rush just to get to it. I'd rather take our time through the previous ones and make sure. How many of you guys are taking other stat courses after this one? You're taking stat 351 or 352, research methods, only one. Oh, a couple of you. Research methods, I'm thinking. There's 376, maybe, over at OSU testing. 351, 352? Yeah, there's a few of them out there floating around. I don't, that's an OSU thing. So what I try to do is, I try to set, for those of you that are moving on, I'm setting the stage. We don't have to rocket through all of this stuff to prepare you guys for those courses. But if you can get even this idea well learned and reinforced here, you'll be wickedly successful over there. And for the rest of us, you'll be able to consume the statistics you're going to consume in your careers intelligently. 243 started that. 244 just finishes it. How many psychologists we got in here? Yes, quite a few of you, I'd imagine. Oh, there are 5 psychologists. How many HDFS? Oh, there they are. Hi. Yes, there's a whole chunk of you. What else we got? Sociologists. Sociologists. How many nurses? Nurse. There we go. Very nice. Very nice, Danielle. Who else we got? What else?
Business.
Oh, business! Business! I forgot about business folks. Oh, a chunk of you. I'm sorry. That fluctuates quite a bit, actually. Sometimes I have none, sometimes I have a dozen. How many of you guys are taking 245 or you're going to take 245, which is the next part of this fun puzzle? Maybe you don't have, you might not need it. You might not need 245. It depends on what school you're going to be transferring into. All right. Who else? Who am I forgetting? Liberal studies, which I completely forgot about. Frankie, anybody else? Who else? That's a rare one. Say, CJ,
Yeah.
they make you take this?
For
That's
your
fantastic. That's good. Most careers should take. Anybody pre-med? Should have more doctors here. I have the nurses in here. That's what's important, right? We got the nurses in here. Most careers need to understand this. And honestly, I could teach an entire course on just that, and we'd have a more intelligent populace. Those of you guys, 243 last project, was anybody else dumbstruck and kind of nauseous when you read about the doctors who couldn't interpret a positive test reading on a breast cancer exam?
Yes.
No, just me. No, me. I mean, Caitlin and I are like, oh my God, here's a positive test result, breast cancer exam. What's the chance you actually have breast cancer, right? Being able to interpret that for your patient, holy crap, it's kind of important, a tiny bit important. But that's that calc-based society that doesn't understand how to interpret a positive, false positive, negative, false negative, which is what a lot of this course is going to be dealing with as we go through it. So we're going to take that idea and just flesh it out even more in 244. So anyway, here's the topics. I can't exactly tell you where we're going to be at any given point in the term. So what we'll do, and let me back up to the schedule page again. What we'll do is, we'll start, like I said, right here, this day, this Thursday of this week. When it says quiz due, after class, I'll run back up to my office and I'll update what we did in class that day. I'll also slap the videos on from the class that day. I'll put PowerPoints up on if we have them, which we do have. I have a few of those for this class, more than I had in 243. And I'll put that stuff up for you. And everything will be sitting there in the day after we do it. So instead of having it there when we start, I'll have it there after we do it, and then you've got a running, this is a living document, it just keeps changing as the course goes on. And everything just stays up for the entirety of the course. Entirety, that's a new word. For the entirety of the course. Make sense? Not make sense? Questions on that so far? So blank days aren't blank dates. Well, they were right now, just because I'm not sure where we're going to be. I can't say we're going to be in week 8, other than right here together. I just don't know exactly what we'll be doing on that day. Cool, so as you scroll down, you got your due dates. Your projects start showing up in week 3. Yeah, week 3. And we got week 6. And we'll talk about what a project is and what a quiz is and what an exam is as we go through. Makes sense? There's Memorial Day right there. Okay, any questions you guys got right now? Fairly straightforward. It's too early to ask questions. That's
We
okay.
can work ahead, right?
Of course you can.
We turn them in, but you don't grade until the after.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Matter of fact, I really wanted, over spring break, one of my projects I wanted to finish was to have an online submission system put together, and I ran out of time. I couldn't get it together to work. Try not handing stuff in early. It seemed like when people were handing, because I'm collecting so much more than I did in the past, last term I upped the amount I brought in from students by like 100% almost, because I was mandating quizzes being turned in. So much stuff was coming, the volume was so great, that when stuff got turned in early, it got put in the wrong places, either by me or by, whoever was, I think it was Emily who was grading last term. So not nobody's fault, it's just that it's likelihood. When you have that much floating around, eventually you're going to get a rooster. I mean, essentially, if you think about it that way. Eventually you're going to get a rooster. I mean, that's what it works out. I was like, oh crap, that wasn't me. You got like 30 chickens, of course you have a rooster.
51.
51! You got like 5 roosters. Yeah, well, okay. I hope.
My mom bought 6 turkeys and 5 of them were roosters.
5?
Oh my God.
Yeah. And she had to give birth. They were,
outlier.
and they were turkeys, if you know what those are.
No.
You have 9 turkeys.
Turkey and
Turkey hen mixes.
They're like these really ugly
It's
long.
like a Delaware versus an Oregonian.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'll try not to turn stuff in early. Just because it seemed like those were the ones that were loaded for issues later. So try to turn things on. But by all means, you can start working on stuff. This first project that's linked over here, it's linked in this blue day up here. It's due in week 3. You can totally get into it right now if you wanted to start into that right now. It's whoops. Where did I click? Oh, I bet you I clicked inadvertently that video that I bet you Blondie for Work, that's Barbara. I bet you this is the video that showed you how to get Office 2013. I don't know how the hell I just opened that. Regardless, yeah, you could crack this project open and start at it right now if you wanted to. So, by all means, if you want to work on stuff early, absolutely. But just try not to hand it in until, that's why I wanted to have it electronically submitted to workflow that better, but it just ran out of time this break. So.
And emails not good.
There's no system set up yet for me. I don't use Blackboard. Thank you for saying that, actually, Frankie. I don't use Blackboard for those of you that are used to using Blackboard. Does anybody remember why you had me before? Why I don't use it? Is it just to torture you guys?
It's behind a password.
I hate hiding that stuff behind passwords. I don't want to hide the class videos behind passwords. I don't want to hide all the assessments behind passwords. I want that stuff out there for anybody to find. And people do find it. There's a dude in Chicago right now that's been watching your guys' class videos from last term and emailing me questions about it.
That's
So
awesome.
the community in Central Oregon Community College is getting a little bit wider than it was before. So the only reason you can find that is because it's not locked behind passwords. So to make up for that, I will email you guys a progress report each week. You guys got one of those each term, each week last term. So you'll know exactly how you're doing each term. I think IT fixed whatever problems they were having with the network. There were some goofy network issues last term. They actually shut the whole thing down the Saturday after finals week. We weren't allowed to get into it at all while they fixed the problem. So if anybody experienced like My Documents issues or email issues at the end of last term, hopefully they're all fixed now, and you guys should be as well. So anyway, I'll email you guys a progress report each week so you know how you're doing, you know the numbers you've got in, the grades you've got in, and what else? I'll return stuff to you as quickly as I can. That's it, as far as that goes. But there's nothing in Blackboard, so don't look for things from Blackboard from me. This is not there. This is not there. Cool? Make sense? So far? Ish. All right, let's break down the materials. It's pretty straightforward. You probably never have to go to this page again. Most of you, if not all of you, took 243 happily. Yes, that's good. That's good, 243. The textbook, if you need it, and a lot of students tell me they don't, or grab a seat somewhere. If you need a textbook reference, like I said, a lot of students say they don't need it. I don't know, 243, how many of you guys cracked that thing open? When I say open, come on, we did good, good, awesome, awesome. But very few, very few, very few, and that's okay. But it's there if you need it, and it's free. It's an online, it's a PDF document, it's freaking huge. My goal is to eventually cut it into smaller pieces like 105 is. Yeah.
I actually found it online and bought it for $20.
It's not much. I think if you click right here, I spelled physical wrong, apologies, but you can actually go right to here. Did you find it in a different place besides their site? Yeah, 20 bucks, $17.96. So you can order it for 20 bucks and have all 700 pages in front of you if you want.
But I never opened it.
But you never opened it. Well, that's okay. That's okay. Some people like to have a physical copy of the book in front of them, and that's fine. I don't require that you have it. It's simply there, much in the way a dictionary is at your house. If you didn't have those anymore, you don't anymore. Back in the day. Back in the day, we used to do things like thesauruses and dictionaries. You don't have them all the time in front of you. You refer to them when you need to. With the changing face of education, Google is replacing these things. Google is replacing these things. The resources I give you are replacing these things. If you look, for example, if you back out of here and go back to the schedule page and you look at some of the homework, I'm calling it homework here, these resources, these read like a textbook. I mean, I've been collecting these things for 20 years and putting these things together for 20 years and editing them for 20 years. So it's becoming a textbook in and of itself. And I think, how many of you guys went to the homework sheets to grab stuff last time? Only a couple of you? A couple more than used the textbook. So, and sometimes I force you to go there. I'd say, you might want to look at blah, 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 and you would go there. But that's the idea. I think that this combined with the resource of a textbook, combined with any videos you have, it's more of a multi-pronged attack from where your information is. So, the textbook is there if you need it, if you ever need it. What I've done in these these extra resource sections, is I've given you at the top of each of them, I can slide there. Yeah, I've given you pages in the book that the problems and the suggested reading come from. Also, any problem that doesn't have a hyperlink has a solution in the textbook to the problem. If it is hyperlinked, it takes you out to a YouTube video where I solve the problem for you. So, you've got all the problems in the book have solutions. I didn't have a chance to do this for 105, unfortunately. I haven't gotten around that next summer's score as well. But any problem in the textbook that's hyperlinked has a video solution. The quizzes will have video solutions after they're turned in. So tons of resources for you guys. But again, a lot of folks don't use the textbook. That's okay. That's okay. It's there if you need it. It's there if you need it. Questions so far about that? That's a little weird, I know. I apologize. A little strange to have that kind of a setup. There's the ISBN if you need it, there's the link. Oh, this is actually the link to the document. If you click on that, it actually opens up the 700 and whatever pages of collaborative statistics written by Dean and Nowakowski. Cool?
Every instructor would do that, it saves so much money.
Well, there's a movement. There is a movement. Speaking of Chicago, there's an instructor in Chicago, I forget her name, she just contacted me about 4 weeks ago, interested in Monte Carlo simulations and doing something like that with that. So there's a movement growing. It's just a butt ton of work. And that's the trick, is it's a butt ton of work. I mean, it's so much easier just to make you guys buy a $200 textbook and say, you know, you're going to use this and this.
Well, and the colleges
This is-
push for that. I know it's
Well,
part of it.
right, but this is actually a more rich learning environment. It takes them getting used to, and I apologize that it kind of does buck the system a little bit, but it's to your guys' benefit in the long run. What else? Calculator. Since we're not in a computer lab tier, I apologize, I wish we were. Get a lot more done if we were. I am going to have you guys use Excel out of class quite a bit. I'd say maybe half a dozen times during the term, so once every other week-ish. In similar ways that you did in 243. So kind of guided practice where you're setting stuff up in Excel and then collecting data, collecting results. If you haven't used Excel, I expect that. I expect you to have never turned it on before, except if you had me for 243, in which case you did. If you haven't, I expect you to have never used it, so I've got lots of tutorial guides, videos that go along with them, things like that. But as far as in class, I bring a TI-84 with me, which is the same as a TI-83. I'm guessing you guys used it in 243 if you didn't have me. We're going to keep using it. Because it's the quickest way for us all to play with technology. If anybody has a smartphone, chances are you could slap some kind of an app on your smartphone. I linked an Android one on the bottom there. This guy named Andy created the Andy 83. And I don't exactly know how to make it work, but students have made it work. So you guys are probably more savvy than I am with the whole smartphone world. My son can run mine better than me, so I think I've missed I'm officially old, which is okay. But you can, sorry, I'm just saying. So go to the App Store, you can probably grab some stat apps that do everything we do on a TI in class for free or next to nothing. I'll be happy to learn them with you in the office hours, sit down with you and learn how to use your phone with you, it's totally fine. Because I know the lingo and the definitions and the calculations, I can figure out where they are on your phone. But as far as in class, I'll just drag around the 84 just to get some. The focus isn't on the computation, the focus is on the interpretation. So honestly, we could never run any computations in class and just interpret the results, and I'd be happy because that's what 99% of you are going to be doing in your jobs anyway. But I want you to run the calculations too, just because some of you are going to be in research fields. You psych majors, you're going to be in research fields. Your social majors, although we didn't have any, the HDFS folks probably are going to run studies, at least on a descriptive level. So it's important to crunch numbers too and collect data. So that's it as far as materials go. Any questions? Textbook, technology. No, we're good? You guys look asleep. Sorry, it's early. It's early, it's snowing. It's a snow day in your mind. It's a snow day in my mind. Let's talk about assessment. This is where I really want to hear from my 243s if you guys want to chime in. There's nothing changed from last term to this term. Everything's well, it's good. See, that's why I didn't change it. Was because hell yeah. I asked students on the survey, would you switch it back to the way it was? And everybody said no. I'm like, hell yeah, okay, that's fine. I mean, I like it this way better. And when I say this way, if you haven't had it before, you have no idea what I'm talking about. So you'll hear it here in a second. But thank you guys for the data, because that was one of the reasons I left it, because you guys seem to enjoy learning that way, and I was stoked. That makes me happy. So anyway, let's talk about how I'm going to collect points from you guys, because at the end of the day, unfortunately, it is all about that, because it has to be about that, because I have to give you a letter grade at the end, which, whatever, is what it is. So there's three main point opportunities in the class. There are quizzes, projects, and exams, and these are loosely termed quizzes, projects, and exams. I call them that because I don't know what else to call them. They're not quizzes, projects, and exams in your traditional sense. The quizzes, did you see on the schedule page, there was quiz due, quiz due, quiz due, quiz due. There's a whole bunch of links on there. Let me go back to it real quick. So there's one for Thursday, here's one over here for next Thursday, and then here's one here that isn't linked for next Thursday after that, and so forth and so on. Lots of quizzes due. As a matter of fact, you're going to have way more than the ones that are posted there, because we're going to do some in class together. I've got one for Thursday already. You're going to have more than one posted each week. You might have 2 and 3, and maybe even 4. I don't think I got that crazy last term with you guys. I think there were a couple weeks where I did 3 posted. But the idea is, why do I post so many? Do you have to turn in 30 quizzes by the end of the term? No, you have to turn in how many? 10. 100 points worth of quizzes altogether. 10 points each. You have to do at least 100 points worth or 10 quizzes towards your overall final grade. Now, some of those are done in class, like the one we do on Thursday. If you choose to do that one in class, then take it away. That's one against your 10. Each week, I email you a progress report each week, and in there, in a bright yellow, huge, like 22-point font is, remember, you still have many quizzes to do. Each week I remind you, you have this many more to do, this many more to do. And I tracked you guys last term. Most of you got them all done by week 8. There were a couple people that had 9 left to do at the end of the course. It made me sad, because I took 90 points away from them from week 10 to week 11. That made me sad. That made me sad. But most of you got them all done by week 8, and you were sitting pretty. Why do I post so many of them? That's one good reason. If you do 15 versus 10, it actually takes some of the percentage weight of the rest of the course off the projects and the exams. There are 2 exams and there are 4 projects, and you have to do those. And that's 300 points altogether. If you do all 10 quizzes and only all 10 quizzes, that's 400 points altogether, which means your quizzes are 25% of your grade. But if you do more, if you do, say, 20 quizzes, which I don't think anybody got quite the 20, people got close. If they get to 20 quizzes, then your quizzes become 40% of your grade, 200 points out of 500. You see what I'm saying? It's actually a much larger percentage. Oh yeah!
I thought you increased the points.
I do, but it becomes you now have 500 total points, 200 of which are your quizzes.
Oh, gotcha.
That's 40% versus 25%. Does that kind of make sense? So you're devaluing, if you will, the exams, and it's by your choice. You can choose to do this. Another reason, oh, please, Katie, yeah.
Say we have like quite a few quizzes left at the end of the term, can we do ones from like the beginning?
No, because I post solutions to the quizzes as soon as you guys turn them in. So don't wait. The point of the quizzes, the reason I made them mandatory, this was new for those of you that had me before a couple terms ago. The reason I had them mandatory was students said, when I made them completely optional, they said I wasn't motivated to do them when they were optional. So, well, hell, let's motivate you to do them. Let's motivate you by putting a due date on them and having you turn them in. And if you wait to the end of the term, you're missing the point of the learning.
They're helpful.
Well, I try to make them helpful. I try to make them applicable. I try to make them pointed. In effect, they're your homework. In effect. Think of them as your homework that you're turning in and you're getting graded on your homework. That's why I put the homework in quotes on the resources page, because that's there to help you with the quizzes and everything else. But what you're submitting to me via the quizzes become your homework, if you will. Please tell me your name.
Mikey.
Mikey, go.
So after you finish your 10 quizzes,
Yes.
you can just do more and more quizzes
Yes.
for an even bigger cushion for your other things?
Yes, you can do every quiz I post if you want to. But the reason I put so many up there is some people will download, want to look at it, and do it looks like crap, I want to do that one. And they don't have to. That's the whole point. You've got like 25 posted. You can let one go and do the one from next week or two next week. For sure, do as many as you want.
Cool.
Yeah, you have to do 10. And I don't require which 10. Just do 10 of them.
Cool, thanks.
Makes sense, Mike? Oh, great question, great question. Yeah, do as many as you want. The only mandate is you have to do at least 10 of them. A lot of students, well, I shouldn't say a lot, a few students, maybe 10%, not quite 10% of students last term, did like the first 10 and then stopped doing them. And then in the surveys, they were anonymous, so I didn't know who wrote what. A lot of students said, I wished I had spread them out more through the term rather than just rushing to get them done in the beginning. Because they were thinking, if I get them done in the beginning, the points are in, I don't have to worry about it anymore. But what they forgot then is that if you stop doing them, you're missing that weekly kind of continual practice of the topics. So, and I don't know if the students that wrote that were the same ones as the students who turned the quizzes in. I'm assuming they were, why else would you say that? So just keep that in mind. You might not want to hammer out, 5 quizzes in the first 2 weeks. And remember, we're doing a bunch in class. We'll do a bunch in class too. God,
But if you're not gonna get like a 10 on the quiz,
I want to come back to that.
Okay.
Yeah, Di brings up a good point as far as quiz submission. Remember, well, not remember, all your assessments in this class are done outside of class and then turned in when you get here. Quizzes, projects, exams, everything. You do it outside of class, then you submit it the day it's due. So there's a quiz due on Thursday that you're going to bring in first thing on Thursday, and you don't do it in here. You do it out there somewhere, and then bring it in here. Who can you work with on these?
Anybody.
Anybody you want. Can you use this?
yes.
Yeah, well actually I guess you're going to use that more than this. But you're going to use this whole, yes, use any resources, use the tutors. They know you're coming, and they know how they're allowed to help you. They're really, really good at that. Use me. Come ask me questions. I don't mind working with you. I've worked with a bunch of folks last term through exams, projects, everything. Email me. Talk to the tutors. Use online resources. Use your classmates. Form study groups today at the break. We'll take a break in about 5 minutes. Form some study groups. Get together. Talk about that. I want this to be a realistic learning experience. Realistic learning experiences do not occur in vacuums. They occur at whatever you need to do. I try to put the quizzes up with at least a week's worth of time between the time I post it and the time it's due, because you need that time. Maybe it might take you a week to find 10 minutes. I know how busy your guys' lives are. 51 chickens, for God's sake. I know how busy your lives are. So I try to give you that kind of that cushion of time to work on things. The projects are already posted for the entire term. The exams will be posted as soon as I know what topics should be on that first one. I'll get the first one up. So it's kind of a traditional, and that's why I call them quizzes, quote, projects, quote, exams, quote. They're really just assessments you're turning in. Some are longer term than others. Please, tell me your name.
Melanie.
Melanie, go.
Did you say we take the exams now?
Yeah, they're going to be posted online. You download them, you complete them, and then you bring them in. That's why it's the exams with quote. It's not your typical sit in a class, bring a cheat sheet or whatever for 2 hours, don't talk to each other. It's not that kind of assessment.
That's awesome.
They're a much more collaborative assessment because I've watched you guys teach each other. Sometimes you don't know I'm there. I'm walking around the library sneaking around a little bastard. Actually, I'm just walking there talking to Victory. You happen to be in there talking. And watching students teach each other makes me so happy. Because some of my colleagues often get worried. They say things like, I know they're not cheating. Oh my God, I hope they are. Because what you're calling cheating, I'm calling collaborative learning. When you can explain
And
it
they
to
all want to get
Veronica.
100%.
What? Say that again?
They all want to get 100%.
Of course, so
They work
it's-
together to get there.
You ever seen A Beautiful Mind? The John Nash story?
Yeah.
What I'm always reminded when I hear things like that, which is 100% true, is when he's describing the guys in the bar trying to pick up the girl. All of them are trying to jockey for position to be the one that gets to ask the girl out. That's like you guys as students. You want to learn, but the best part about it is there's a date for all of you because they're not competing for one grade. You're all competing for doing as best as you can. Does that make sense? It probably might not make sense actually. It might be like kind of like, all right, crazy hippie guy. But that's okay. I've seen it work. It works brilliantly. So yes, everything's done. Class is reserved not for locking you down and making you spend 2 hours with your head down. It's reserved for kind of understanding and discovering ideas. Then you take them up to practice. The quizzes are short-term practice, short-term, weekly, or sometimes daily. I've got in-class and out-of-class quizzes. Like I said, you'll get used to these pretty quickly. But the exams down here are the longer term. You can't really pick and choose on those. It's 100 points worth of stuff and then 100 more points worth of stuff. So if you say you want to skip 2 sample T testing on the quizzes, that's fine, but you'll have to do at least one of those later on and show me that you know how to do a 2 sample T test at some point because you're going to see those in your research careers. Cool? Melanie, thank you for the question. And the projects are slightly oddball. They're the ones that fall between. Your first project is on sampling. Sampling is something your textbook, I think, does a little too heavy-handedly. So I've written, if you will, another textbook section on it, and that becomes the first project. Your second project is an Excel-based attack of the idea of mathematical confidence, which is something else your textbook just completely glosses over, but is something that is pretty important, and you need Excel to really, well, you need some kind of computer software to do it effectively. We all have Excel, so we're going to use Excel. Your third project, remember when the Deepwater Horizon well exploded down in the Gulf of Mexico in 2010? Remember that? That really shook me up as a hippie. And when they went on TV and they told me when the BP or the Coast Guard, one of the two of them, said, we're losing about 1,000 barrels of oil a day. I said, no, you're not, you lying bastard. I've seen the YouTube video. It's a lot more than that. So that project actually attacks, using that YouTube video, it attacks how to estimate how much oil came out of that pipe. And believe it or not, the estimate you get is actually almost spot on the middle of the estimate that they eventually admitted happened. So it's interesting. But the thing about it is the tools you use to do that in that project are in no textbooks. They're used in industry all the time, but not in textbooks, which is kind of a shame. So the projects, if you will, are just extensions, like industry-based extensions that most textbooks, even the one I'm using, the open source one, just kind of gloss over. So they're standalones. You can do them by yourselves or with other people, just like everything else. They won't make appearances on exams or quizzes. They're their own things. They're their own kind of animals, if you will. Please.
Something that was helpful, would have been helpful for me,
Yes.
was to know that projects, the reading teaches you how to do the project. That isn't learned in class, you're kind of learning outside.
Thank you for saying that, because it's one of those things I take for granted, and I shouldn't.
Yeah,
So
I was
when-
like, what?
Yes,
I never learned this.
I never looked at pages 1 through 9. I always get to page 10. When you crack open the, thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for saying that. Let's crack open the BP one. Here it is. Okay, so this one has a spreadsheet that goes along with it. There's quite a bit of stuff before this, before you actually get to where I start asking you to do stuff in the project. You'll know where things that you have to do are because you'll see little, right there, points, 2 points. You'll get 2 points for sketching the normal quantile plot. Okay, and then down here somewhere you get 4 points for writing down some percentile values, then you get 2 points here and 3 points here. So the points are the things you're probably going to be drawn to as a student because that's what you're getting assessed on, is turning those points in. But you got to remember that sometimes you may have to go to look at other stuff to figure out how to do that. And I try to keep it as close as I can. I do write like the Italian that I am as I speak. So when you read this, it's almost like you can hear my voice on your shoulder like talking to you, chirping at you. But, so I appreciate you saying that, Ron, because it's one of those things I just take for granted people do. But then I shouldn't take that for granted, because I don't think that actually happens a lot of times. So yeah, the projects can be a little bit verbose, a little bit quote unquote verbose, but there's a lot of good information in there, kind of tucked in footnotes and things like that. So thank you for saying that. And that goes for quizzes and exams too. There's a bunch of information in there. You gotta remember, I'm kind of turning education up on its side. I'm removing the idea of a textbook and replacing it with stuff like this. This really is a small chapter of a textbook, essentially, is what you're doing. So when you're turning the points in from this, essentially you're turning your homework in on a small chapter of a textbook, if that makes sense. So it's not the traditional method of education you might be used to, but I think it's pretty effective regardless. But thank you for that point. Yes. So 25 points for the projects, times 4 is 100. 100 points for the exams, times 2 is 200, and at least 10 points for the quizzes, times 10 is 100. That's 400 minimum points, up to as many as you can possibly get, actually. What we'll do is we'll take 5. I'm going to turn the camera off for a sec here. And